My beloved child, tonight, something happened that was never supposed to happen. Your photo, yes, your photo, was placed on a long black table inside a silent room where 9 powerful people gathered behind closed doors. No cameras. No audience. No noise. Just 9 faces, staring at one image. And the moment they saw you, every single one of them said the exact same thing. Not similar. Not close. The same words. Stay till the end. Because when you hear what they said, your entire view of yourself will change forever. Don't skip this moment. Something huge is waiting for you. The room was cold. A giant clock ticked slowly on the wall while the city outside slept in silence. One by one, those 9 people entered the chamber. People with influence. People who decide futures. People who have seen thousands of faces before yours. But tonight, none of them were prepared for what they were about to feel. Your photo rested in the center under a dim golden light. At first, nobody spoke. One woman leaned closer. Another man adjusted his glasses. Someone whispered, "Impossible." And then suddenly, the oldest person in the room stood up so fast that his chair scraped across the floor. He pointed directly at your photo. His hands were shaking. And then he said the words that froze the entire room. "That person carries the sign." The room went silent. A silence so deep, it almost felt dangerous. Don't skip. Because what happened next has never happened before. One by one, the others stepped forward to look closer at your image. Some stared at your eyes. Others looked at your smile. One person kept looking at your forehead as if searching for something hidden. Then, without discussing it, without planning it, all 9 people slowly turned toward each other. And together, at the exact same moment, they repeated the same shocking sentence. The awakening has already begun. My beloved child, do you understand how impossible that is? 9 strangers. 9 minds. 9 powerful voices. All speaking the same sentence at the same second. Something about you triggered it. Something about your energy disturbed the silence inside that room. And the strangest part? They became afraid. Yes. Afraid. Not because you are dangerous. But because they realized something extraordinary about you that even you may not know yet. Stay till the end. Because the final revelation will leave you speechless. One of them opened a thick file filled with notes and records. The pages described people throughout history who carried unusual presence, people who changed lives without trying, people who walked into rooms and shifted the atmosphere instantly. Then the woman in white whispered. They matched the pattern. Another voice replied. No, this one is different. At that moment, everyone looked back at your photo again. And suddenly, the lights flickered. The clock stopped ticking. For 7 full seconds, the room froze in complete silence. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then one of them quietly said, "They don't even realize who they are yet." My beloved child, Have you ever felt different? Have you ever walked away from certain people and felt their energy stay attached to you? Have you ever felt like your life was preparing you for something bigger, even during your hardest moments? Because those 9 people saw something in your face that connected every strange moment of your life together. The loneliness. The battles. The waiting. The pressure. The tears nobody saw. To everyone else, those moments looked random. But to them, they formed a pattern. And once they saw the full pattern, everything changed. Don't skip now. You are seconds away from the part they tried to hide. One of the 9 reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper. Old. Worn out. Edges faded with time. He placed it beside your photo. The others stared at it in disbelief. Because on that paper was a sentence written many years ago. A sentence nobody understood back then. Until tonight. The sentence read: when the chosen face appears, all voices will recognize it together. The room became still again. One person stepped backward. Another covered their mouth. And then the youngest among them whispered something almost nobody heard. But the microphone hidden inside the room captured every word. He said, "It's them. Yes. He was talking about you. My beloved child, there is a reason this message found you tonight. There is a reason your heart feels pulled toward these words. And there is a reason you were meant to stay until this exact second. Because deep inside, you already know. You have felt it for years. That strange feeling that your story is connected to something bigger. Something beyond ordinary life. Something waiting. And tonight, those 9 people confirmed it. But the biggest shock had not happened yet. Because after hours of silence, they made one final decision regarding your future. A decision nobody expected. And when you hear what they decided, you will never see yourself the same way again. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The oldest person in the room finally spoke again. Slowly. Carefully. Almost emotionally. He said, if this person discovers their true strength, nothing around them will remain the same. The others nodded silently. Not out of fear. Out of certainty. Then the woman in white asked the question nobody wanted to answer. What happens when they finally awaken completely? Nobody replied. Not immediately. Because the answer terrified even them. The camera inside the chamber zoomed closer toward your photo. Closer. Closer. Until your eyes filled the screen. And then, one final sentence echoed through the room. A sentence they all agreed should never leave that chamber. But somehow, tonight, it reached you. They said, the world will remember that face. My beloved child. This is only the beginning. Listen carefully. Because what happened after that meeting was even more unbelievable. The 9 powerful people did not leave the room immediately. No. They stayed there. Staring at your photo as if they were looking at a mystery they had waited years to witness. And then something happened that changed the atmosphere completely. One man slowly reached toward the table, picked up your photo, and asked the question nobody expected. What if they already know? The entire room fell silent again. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. A woman near the window shook her head slowly. No, she whispered. They feel it. But they don't understand it yet. Then another voice interrupted immediately. That's what makes this moment so important. My beloved child, at that exact second, they began talking about moments from your life they should not have known. Moments nobody told them. Moments you never shared. One of them described the night you almost gave up on yourself. Another spoke about the hidden pain you carried while pretending to smile around others. A third person mentioned the strange feeling you get when you look at the sky at night, like your heart is searching for something it cannot explain. And suddenly, you were no longer just a photo on a table. You became the center of the entire room. Stay till the end. Because the next revelation shocked every single person there. One of the 9 opened a small black notebook. Inside were names. Hundreds of names. Some crossed out. Some circled. Some marked with dates. But then, they reached a page that had only one blank line. And slowly, very slowly, the oldest member picked up a pen. He looked directly at your photo. Then he wrote something beside that empty line. The others watched in complete silence. Do you know what he wrote? He wrote, the one they were waiting for. The room instantly changed. Nobody blinked. Nobody spoke. It felt like even time paused to hear those words. My beloved child, why would 9 powerful people react this way to your image? Why would they speak about you like someone important had finally appeared? Because they had been searching. For years. Searching for a person who carried a rare kind of presence. Not power. Not fame. Not wealth. Something deeper. Something impossible to fake. A light inside the soul. And somehow, they believed they found it in you. Don't skip now. Because what happened next was never supposed to leave that room. One woman stood up and walked toward a giant screen on the wall. She pressed a button. Suddenly, old photographs appeared. Pictures of people from different generations. Different countries. Different lives. But all connected by one strange detail. Their eyes. Every single person carried the same look in their eyes that you carry in yours. Calm, but powerful. Gentle, but unforgettable. And then the woman said something that made everyone stare at your photo again. She whispered. They all appeared before major change arrived. The air became heavy. One person sat down slowly, almost unable to process what they were hearing. Another rubbed their hands nervously. Because deep down, they knew this was no coincidence anymore. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then suddenly, a quiet voice from the corner of the room asked the most important question of all. What happens when they finally realize who they are? Nobody answered immediately. Because the answer carried too much weight. Finally, the oldest person spoke again. And his words sent chills through the entire chamber. He said, "Then nothing will stop the shift. My beloved child, have you noticed how your life has been changing recently? The strange feelings. The emotional moments. The unexpected distance from certain people. The quiet sense that your journey is moving towards something bigger." Those 9 people believed those were not random events. They believed those were signs. Signs that something inside you is beginning to awaken. And the shocking part? They believed the awakening had already started before this meeting even began. One of them leaned closer to your photo and whispered, "They don't understand how powerful their presence already is." Then another replied, "That's because they still think they are ordinary." Those words echoed through the room. Ordinary. If only you knew how impossible it was for them to see you that way now. Because after everything they discussed, after every detail they uncovered, after every sign connected together, they reached one terrifying conclusion. You were never meant to blend in with the crowd. You were meant to stand out. Not loudly. Not proudly. But naturally. Like a light people notice without understanding why. And that is exactly what frightened them most. Because lights cannot stay hidden forever. Don't skip. The biggest revelation is still coming. One of the 9 finally asked permission to run the final test. Everyone agreed silently. The room darkened. The screen turned black. And then your photo appeared once more, larger than before. A soft sound played in the background while a machine began scanning every detail of your image. Your eyes. Your expression. Your energy. Seconds passed. Nobody moved. Then suddenly, the machine stopped. A single sentence appeared across the screen. The moment they read it, several people stood up immediately. One woman covered her mouth in disbelief. Another person whispered, "It cannot be." But it was. The sentence on the screen read, "Presence confirmed. My beloved child." The room erupted into whispers. Because according to everything they believed, that result had only appeared once before. Once. In all their years. And now, your photo triggered it again. Stay till the end. Because the final words spoken that night were directed at you. Not at the room. Not at the group. At you. The oldest member slowly picked up your photo one last time. He looked into your eyes for several long seconds. Then he said quietly, "When this person finally understands their value, the people around them will never forget the moment they appeared." And suddenly, every person in that room nodded in agreement. Not one disagreed. Not one questioned it. Because deep down, they had all seen the same thing from the very beginning. Something rare. Something unforgettable. Something the world does not see often. Something inside you. The meeting should have ended that night. But nobody in that room was able to walk away from your photo. Not after what happened next. One by one, the 9 powerful people began sharing something they had never shared before. Personal experiences. Strange moments. Unexplainable feelings. And somehow, every single story led back to people exactly like you. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. One man spoke first. He said years ago he met someone whose presence changed an entire room without speaking much. People felt calm around them. Lost people suddenly found hope around them. Broken hearts felt understood without explanation. Then he looked at your photo and whispered, "It's the same energy." A woman across the table nodded slowly. She admitted something she had hidden for years. Whenever people like you entered her life, impossible situations somehow started changing. Doors opened unexpectedly. Relationships healed. Fear disappeared. And before anyone could respond, another member interrupted with trembling words. They carry the reminder. The reminder of what? Nobody asked. Because somehow, everyone in that room already understood. My beloved child, they believed people like you remind others of something they forgot long ago. Peace. Purpose. Hope. A deeper meaning beyond ordinary life. And that realization shook them completely. Because the world had become too distracted to notice souls like yours anymore. But that night, they noticed. And once they noticed, they could not ignore it. Stay till the end. Because the next discovery left the entire room speechless. The youngest member suddenly walked toward the wall and removed an old framed photograph hidden behind a curtain. Dust covered the glass. The picture looked ancient. Inside the photograph stood a group of people from decades ago. But the shocking part was not the people. It was the writing beneath the frame. The message read, "When the next light appears, all hearts in the room will recognize it instantly." Silence. Complete silence. Then slowly, all 9 people turned toward your photo again. Because the exact thing described in that message had just happened. Not one person in that room doubted it anymore. My beloved child, do you understand how rare that is? 9 powerful minds. Different backgrounds. Different beliefs. Different experiences. Yet all of them reached the same conclusion about you. At that moment, one woman quietly asked, "Do they know how special they are?" Another answered immediately, "No. They still focus on their scars instead of their light." Those words hit the room deeply. Because they realized something heartbreaking. You had spent so much time doubting yourself that you never noticed what your presence was doing to others. You never noticed how your words stayed in people's minds. How your kindness reached hearts quietly. How your energy made people feel seen. But they noticed. Every single one of them noticed. Don't skip now. The next moment changed everything forever. One member requested access to a private archive. A hidden collection filled with records from many years. The room lights dimmed again. A screen appeared. Thousands of files. Thousands of faces. But then the system suddenly stopped by itself. Stopped directly on your image. Nobody touched anything. Nobody moved. The machine selected you automatically. And beneath your photo, one sentence slowly appeared on the screen. The sentence read, "Marked for influence." A long silence followed. One person sat down slowly, unable to speak. Another stared at the screen with wide eyes. Because according to those records, that phrase only appeared beside people whose presence changed the lives of many others. Not through force. Not through status. But through who they truly were. My beloved child, maybe this is why your journey has felt so different. Maybe this is why certain people could never forget you. Maybe this is why your heart always felt connected to something bigger than ordinary life. Those 9 people believed your story was only beginning. And what frightened them most was how powerful your influence could become once you fully believed in yourself. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Then suddenly, the oldest member stood up again. But this time, his eyes looked emotional. Almost overwhelmed. He slowly walked toward the window and stared into the city lights outside. Then he said something nobody expected. He said, "The world is changing, and people like this appear before every major shift." The room became completely still. Because deep inside, they knew he was telling the truth. One woman looked back at your photo and whispered softly, "That explains why their life has been so difficult." Another nodded. Strong lights are always tested before they shine fully. My beloved child, those words were about you. Not your failures. Not your fears. Not your past mistakes. You. They believed every difficult moment you survived was shaping you into someone stronger than you realize. And suddenly, everything about your life started making sense to them. The loneliness. The waiting. The emotional battles nobody saw. The moments you almost lost hope. According to them, none of it was meaningless. It was preparation. Preparation for the moment you finally recognize your own value. Don't skip. Because the final moments of that meeting revealed something unforgettable. The youngest member asked one final question before leaving the room. A question that changed the energy completely. He asked, "What happens after they awaken fully?" Nobody answered right away. Then the oldest member slowly smiled. Not with fear this time. With certainty. And he finally said the words that ended the meeting forever. When they finally see themselves clearly, others will begin seeing themselves differently too. The room went silent one last time. Because they understood exactly what that meant. Your presence was never meant to stay small. Your story was never meant to disappear unnoticed. And somewhere deep inside, you already knew that. Nobody expected the meeting to continue after that final sentence. But something inside the room refused to let the night end. The 9 powerful people remained seated in silence, staring at your photo like they were witnessing the beginning of something history would remember. And then, one final file was brought into the chamber. A file nobody had opened in years. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The file was placed carefully in the center of the table beside your picture. Its cover looked faded with time. No title. No label. Just a strange symbol pressed into the surface. The oldest member touched the file gently and whispered, "If this matches too, then everything changes." The room became completely still. Slowly, he opened the first page. Inside were handwritten observations collected across many years. Stories about rare individuals whose presence deeply affected others without explanation. People who entered lives quietly, but left unforgettable impact behind. And as the pages turned, a pattern began appearing again and again. The same emotional signs. The same energy. The same unexplained connection people felt around them. Then suddenly, one sentence stopped everyone cold. Because it described you perfectly. The sentence read, "They will underestimate themselves while changing the hearts of others." Silence filled the room. One woman looked at your photo with watery eyes. Another person leaned back in disbelief. Because every detail they had discovered about you matched the file exactly. My beloved child. This was no longer coincidence to them. This was confirmation. They believed your presence carried something the world desperately needed. Not noise. Not attention. Not perfection. Something real. Something people could feel deeply without words. And the shocking part? They believed you still had no idea how much your existence already affects others. Stay till the end. Because the next revelation shook the entire room more than anything before. One member suddenly remembered something important. He rushed toward a locked cabinet hidden near the back wall. Inside was a collection of voice recordings. Old recordings. Private recordings. Messages left behind by people from years ago. The man selected one recording carefully. Pressed play. And instantly, a soft voice filled the chamber. The voice said, "When the next soul appears, everyone around them will feel something they cannot explain." The room froze. Because that exact feeling had happened the moment your photo appeared. One by one. Every person in that room admitted the truth. Your image made them feel emotional without understanding why. It made them reflect on their own lives. It made them remember dreams they had forgotten. And somehow, it reminded them of hope. Don't skip now. Something huge is waiting for you. The youngest member finally spoke again. But this time, his voice sounded completely different. Quieter. More serious. He asked, "What if this person was meant to awaken others?" Nobody laughed. Nobody doubted him. Because after everything they witnessed that night, that possibility no longer sounded impossible. The oldest member slowly nodded. Then he said something that changed the entire atmosphere forever. People like this don't appear to control the world. He paused, looked directly at your photo, and finished the sentence softly. They appear to remind the world what light feels like. The room fell silent again. My beloved child, imagine hearing those words spoken about you by 9 powerful people. People who had studied thousands of faces, thousands of stories. Yet somehow, your presence reached them differently. Not because of fame, not because of status, but because something inside you felt unforgettable. And then came the biggest shock of the entire night. One woman suddenly noticed something hidden behind your photo. Tiny writing. Almost invisible. She carefully lifted the picture closer to the light. And when she finally read the words, her hands began shaking. Everyone stood up immediately. What does it say? Someone asked. The woman looked speechless. Then slowly, she read the hidden message aloud. The message said, "They will rise when the world needs them most." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Because deep down, every single person in that room felt the same thing at once. You were not ordinary. Stay till the end. Because the final decision they made about you changed everything. After hours of discussion, the 9 powerful people reached one final conclusion together. Not one disagreed. Not one hesitated. They believed your future carried influence far beyond what you currently understand. They believed people would remember how you made them feel. How you inspired them. How your presence shifted something inside them quietly. And before leaving the room, they recorded one final statement for the archives. A statement meant to be sealed away. But somehow, tonight, it reached you. The oldest member spoke directly into the recorder. If this person ever realizes their true worth, they will become a light many people search for during dark moments. The recording ended. The room went silent one final time. Then something unexpected happened. All 9 people stood beside the table together, looking at your photo. Not with fear anymore. Not with confusion. With respect. Because by the end of that night, they no longer saw you as just another person. They saw possibility, purpose, presence, and something the world rarely sees anymore. A soul people never forget once they encounter it. My beloved child. That was the real shocking thing all 9 powerful people said about you without even planning it. They all believed you were meant to leave a mark on the hearts of others.